London under attack. 33 confirmed dead as terrorists target London's transport network.
4 explosions in total, 3 on the capital's underground trains. The whole system is brought to a halt.
I thought I wasn't going to get out of this. Whatever it was, I didn't know. I thought that was it when it went all so dark.
Extremism and extremists are words we hear a lot in the media these days. They are words often used in television and radio news reports and in newspapers to describe a person or group of people with a particularly narrow view of the world. For most of us, when we hear the words extremism or extremists, our thoughts instantly picture scenes of anger, hatred and violence.
Go to hell, they shouted, waving posters reading Butchers of Basra. And the crowd turned on them.
But the animal rights movement has also become linked to what the FBI calls special interest terrorism.
Trouble was sporadic, but hundreds of police officers, some with dogs, some with horses, had been deployed to ensure that was the case.
Extremism has quite a long history. All political movements generate more moderate and extreme points of view within them. So although at the moment the focus is obviously upon forms of extremism related to faith, actually if you look back over the past 30 to 40 years, we've had lots of different kinds of extremism. We've had extremists associated with left-wing politics, with right-wing politics, with anarchist politics, animal rights. Any campaign that is politicised really has more extreme and more moderate viewpoints within it.
Extremists get their message across by using a mixture of half-truths, distorted information and downright lies. This information is referred to as propaganda. However, propaganda is nothing new. In the 1930s, the Nazi Party in Germany made a number of extreme films. The aim was to persuade ordinary Germans that all Jews were bad people.
Well, the Nazis were very skillful. They understood popular culture, they understood quite a lot about psychology, maybe even group psychology, and they understood a lot about the role of the media. They employed photographers and filmmakers and designers and so on. They were skillful. And also, I think they emerged at a period when there was a deep crisis in German society after the end of World War I and during the Depression years. And so, given a bad situation, people could blame somebody, blame the Jews, blame the gypsies, blame the homosexuals, blame the communists.
The Nazis used propaganda to seize and maintain power and for the implementation of their evil policies. Policies that included the pursuit of total war and the extermination of millions of people in the Holocaust. Their cause wasn't limited to Germany. Indeed, the Nazis also had supporters here in Britain. Thankfully, however, most people weren't fooled by their propaganda.
In other words, I'm told that Hitler is mad.
The films created by the Nazi Party show us how an entire nation can be persuaded to think in a negative way towards a group of people living side by side amongst them. But what about here and now? What methods do extreme individuals or groups use to spread their message? The internet is a prime example of a tool used by extremists to recruit new members. In fact, websites, email and online discussion groups have become powerful tools to recruit, raise funds and persuade people to accept the views of all types of extremist groups.
What we've seen recently, since the introduction of the internet,
how easy it is for people to access information from the safety of their own homes. They don't have to go looking for it. Just by using Google, you can type in anything you like, and before you know it, you've got a selection of about 20 or 30 potential sites which are going to lead you off down various different routes to find out further information about any form of extremism.
Another tool to spread an extremist message is the easy-to-read pamphlet or leaflet. These are inexpensive to print, particularly in large batches, and if the leaflet strikes a sympathetic chord, the reader is likely to write or telephone for more in-depth information.
Access to extremist literature is not difficult for young people. Most young people will pick up on the grapevine where material is being distributed. Most young people will know by hearsay, word of mouth, where to access material on the internet. So to get access to extremist material is not a difficult thing for young people to do.
A method that is increasingly used to get an extreme message over to young people is music. Extreme groups try to entice young people to their way of thinking by combining different types of music with narrow-minded messages.
Every band and artist and every pop star has got their own kind of views and opinions that they put into their own songs. Sometimes the songs and music that you listen to can be of an extreme nature, so it's important to listen and kind of understand the lyrics, and if you think something's a little bit dodgy in a song, then there's nothing wrong with asking somebody about it, you know, because your views will change as you get older, and you know, you'll get ideas, and sometimes other people's extreme ideas might make their way into your ears and try and change you.
I mean, young people, obviously, when they're listening to music, like when I was a kid, you listen to the tune and you get into the music. I was a punk, you know. I wasn't listening to the lyrics particularly. You just do things like your peer group do. Young people just need to get into the habit of listening to material which isn't going to cause offence to their friends and families and others, and try to get a real awareness of what's going on behind the tune.
Someone who became an extremist is Matthew Collins. Matthew grew up in South London and became a member of two extreme right-wing groups, the National Front and Combat 18.
At the time I got involved with the National Front and the BNP, I mean, they were, ostensibly they were political parties, but they weren't really engaging in the political process. They were very, very small political movements. And so we did quite benign activities like leafleting, like going to meetings, like trying to sell newspapers during the day, and then at night we would be involved in activities that we sort of believed would further our revolutionary goals and aims, which would be attacking people, our political enemies, or people that we deemed that had to be. We were involved in a campaign to win control of the streets, so we were involved in quite brutal violence against our enemies. And our enemies ranged from the extreme left to the mainstream political people, little old ladies, or people that had signed petitions to save the local library or hospital. We were involved in a war with mainstream society, as are all extremists.
We've heard about different ways that extremists use to spread their messages, but what kind of messages are spread by extreme groups?
Tony Blair has been warned. Pull your troops out of Afghanistan. Pull your troops out of Iraq. And if you do not pull your troops out, you will get bloodshed on the streets of London.
One crucial thing about propaganda is that it's not just a lie. If it was simply a lie, no one would believe it. It takes bits of truth, half-truths, distortions, and uses them. So often it's very hard to know what's propaganda, because often it's partially true. It's just that it's usually also mostly false. And so I think young people have to learn to think critically, to question, to ask, is that so? What is the evidence? Are there alternative viewpoints? I think that's what's really important.
I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation.
It's worth remembering that not all extremists are negative or destructive. The civil rights leader, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., for example, once said, "The question is not whether we will be extremists, but what kind of extremists we will be. The nation and the world are in dire need of creative extremists." OK, let's summarise. What do you understand about the words extremism and extremists? In other words, how would you define extremism? Also, how would you handle extreme information? For example, how would you judge what is genuine or false information? And where would you go to get facts about issues? Who should you ask about what is truthful and what is deceitful? It's your call.